Frank? Frank, you're ringing.
No, I'm snoring.
No, you're ringing.
Who is it?
It's the building.
Building. What building?
You know, the one we own? The one I wish you'd sell? The one that always waits until the middle of the night to call with problems about toilets or tenants or trash?
I don't interrupt your dreams about Ashton Kutcher.
I don't dream.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes, Louis.
Sorry to be calling so late, but we got a real problem down here.
We're backed up.
It's always one of those 3 T's. Toilets, tenants, or trash.
Oh, the tenants threw the trash down the toilets.
Call the management company.
This is the management company.
Yeah, I'm coming down.
All right, I got to shut the whole thing down. See what you get here.
I stay out of the business. Maybe you should talk to Jerry about selling the building.
Well, the taxes would kill us. Sell the building. We can't just sell the building.
Jerry's our financial advisor. Let him financially advise.
You know, I have a thought. Why don't I talk to Jerry about selling the building?
Up to you, honey. I stay out of the business.
Selling the building outright is only one of your options. You're one of my best clients, Frank. So how many games would you like me to lose?
The usual.
What you really want to leave your grandkids isn't the building. The building's a royal pain. You want to leave them the equity in the building.
Okay.
Your best move might be a 1031 exchange for a tenant in common interest that will defer your tax liability and allows you to reinvest your sales proceeds in a Class A building that pays a decent cash income and is maintained and managed for you by a group of professionals.
All right, I understood everything except the part right after your best move might be.
Look, I'm playing golf tomorrow with a guy who knows this stuff cold. Why don't you come with us? He can explain it to a 6-year-old.
How'd you do? 6, 5, 8, carry the 1. 93.
A bogey on the first hole just killed you.
And then on the back 9,
Dave,
14.
let's get back to how the tenant in common exchange works.
Okay, well, you know, it works with all different kinds of investment properties. Warehouses, farms. Frank, you mentioned that you have an apartment building worth about $2 million.
That's right.
Okay, a simple comparison.
Okay.
Let's assume that you're going to sell the property. Worth $2 million. You mentioned you had a $1 million loan, and you coincidentally bought it for $1 million. So $1 million is your original basis.
Right.
So let's look at what your taxes would be if you sold it outright.
Okay.
$2 million minus $1 million, which is your original basis, is a $1 million gain. Now let's go through the major taxes that you would have to pay if you sold it outright. The first tax is capital gains tax. That's 15% of that $1 million gain. So 15 times $1 million is $150,000. Second major tax that you have to pay if you sell the property outright is depreciation recapture. And that is kind of paying Uncle Sam back for the amount of depreciation that you've taken over the years. If you paid $1 million for it, a good rule of thumb is 80% of that was probably depreciable basis. So 80% of $1 million is $800,000. The depreciation recapture tax is 25% of that. So 25% of $800,000 is $200,000. So $150,000 and $200,000 is $350,000.
Wow.
So now let's look at how you come out cash-wise. Building's worth $2 million, so you sell it for $2 million. You pay your lender back the $1 million loan. You're left with $1 million. We bring down that $350,000 tax.
Oh, that's a big chunk of change, man.
It is, and if you look at it in comparison to the $1 million in equity, you're talking about a tax that's over a third.
Oh, man. The government's in my pocket.
Let's look at the difference if you did a 1031 fractional exchange. Again, we have the same $2 million value of your building, but we're not going to have to be paying the capital gains tax or the depreciation recapture. Both of those are not applicable.
Really?
So let's look at how you come out cash-wise. $2 million sale price. We're going to subtract out your $1 million loan, left with $1 million. Now let's talk about some of the other really big benefits that are available through one of these fractional exchanges. I mentioned that you can pool your dollars with up to 34 other investors. That allows you to buy a much higher quality property. The higher quality properties tend to have higher quality construction. They tend to have better locations. And they also tend to attract more credit-worthy tenants. In most of the transactions that I've seen, and certainly all those that we do, you have a competitively priced loan that's generally non-recourse to you, already negotiated on your behalf. And then lastly, this is one of the benefits that I think you'll really like. They're professionally leased and managed for you. So you get this major benefit in terms of tax deferral and this turnkey solution with all these other big benefits.
So that would put me in much better condition than if I just sold the building outright.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? There's one more benefit that I haven't mentioned, and that is the income pickup. Let me ask you this. How much income are you getting from that apartment building today?
Well, it's not like it used to be, but it's still decent. Maybe $90,000.
$90,000. Okay, now does that include the interest on your loan?
No.
Okay, now you mentioned you had $1 million loan. What's your interest rate?
6%.
6%. Okay, so let's take the $90,000 that you're getting from the apartment building today. We'll subtract off 6% times $1 million. That's 60,000. Subtract the 60, we end up with 30,000. So $30,000 in income on your $1 million investment. That's a 3% return. Now, let's compare that with what's available in the fractional exchange market. The transaction that we've done recently have varied from about 6% on the low side to 8% on the high side. But let's just call it 7% for comparison purposes. A 7% return on that same $1 million in equity would provide you with $70,000 per year. So $70,000 under the fractional exchange versus $30,000 today, you can potentially pick up $40,000 per year
Really?
in extra income.
So how long have these TICs been around?
Well, in this format since 2002. So literally thousands of investors in the same position that you're in today have decided that this is their best option. Just to test a theory, Frank, if I asked you what are your 3 primary objectives on your next real estate investment, what would you say?
Well, first, don't lose my money.
Second, get me a decent rate of return. And third, make it possible for me to see some appreciation down the road.
And those are exactly the same objectives that the majority of our other investors have.
You are making me so happy, I'm going to let Jerry here buy us lunch, eh? And that's all there is to it.
That's amazing. So we just trade our equity in this building for the same amount of equity in a much better building?
And we avoid the capital gains taxes and the recapture taxes and all the hassles. Honey? You're snoring. Honey?